Good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie, and on behalf of Book Soup, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for our virtual event this evening with Lewis M. Jason in conversation with Anne Perry, discussing Lewis Jason's Literary Doodles, Volume 2. We're so excited and grateful that our bookstore can continue to bring authors and their works to our community during this time. We're going to be hosting more virtual events in the near future, and you can learn about them on our website, booksoup.com, as well as our social media at BookSoup. Our next event is going to be tomorrow, December 1st, with Erica Schickel in conversation with Peter Detterer, discussing The Big Hurt, a memoir. Support our bookstore and our authors and purchase a copy of tonight's featured book. It will be signed. Just click on the green purchase button that reads Doodles directly below the viewer screen. The link will redirect you to our website where you can continue your checkout process. We're selling digital audiobooks and ebooks through Libro FM and Kobo for those who are interested. Again, the books tonight will come signed. If you'd like to ask a question during the event, please use the Ask a Question box at the bottom of the screen and type it in. Please do not use the sidebar chat to ask a question. So tonight we have Lewis M. Jason, co-owner of Mystery Pier Books, which is right next door to Book Soup, and Anne Perry, who's a celebrated author of historical detective fiction. Without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera over to Lewis and Anne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Took me a second. No, so first of all, Anne, thank you so much for doing this. It means a great deal to me.
Oh, it was a pleasure to me. And I can remember the first book.
Yes, well, you're in the first book, actually. So, actually.
I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
Of course you are. Anne, when I asked her to do it in the first book, was more than kind enough. And I'll see if it will. No, get rid of the little thing. See if it will hold up. It's relatively light, but I think you can make it out.
It's a running horse and my signature.
And why, let me ask you, why did you decide to draw a horse as your drawing itself?
It's the only thing that I've ever kept on drawing. And I love doing the one line, whichever way it might go, and then drawing the horse on that line of movement.
Okay. Yeah, I can actually, you can actually make that out. And that would be the line of movement right there.
I like urgency, movement, passion in the drawing.
So you like being able to see the emotion, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, as a writer, I should have been able to say that, shouldn't I?
Yeah, but you know,
that's all right.
You're too busy writing. You're too busy writing books.
Well, Wendy, thank you for asking me to question you on Doodles, because it's something I don't normally do when I'm on the telephone.
Right.
But I'm sure that the fact that I always draw horses in swift motion would tell a bright person something about me. What do you think Doodles tell about the person who's drawing them?
It actually depends on what they draw and who they are, and what they tend to do. So let me just grab a copy right here of the new one, available at BookSoup.
The other one is white, so it's
the other one's white.
Different.
Also available at BookSoup. So both are available next door at BookSoup. But with the new one, with Volume 2, it actually depends. When you ask someone what they want to draw, I'll say to them, you know, when they come on in, you know, depending on who they are, you know, will you please draw something? And I've been asked by quite a few people, what do you want me to draw? It's up to you. I'm asking you for what you would do right then, right there.
It's very telling, though, what people will draw, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, some of them will actually, and it always kind of throws me, actually. Let me grab who I'm looking for right now. Hold on. When people will draw themselves, and who is it? Someone drew themselves. All right. So, nope, wrong person.
That's a good picture, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
Lauren D. Easterman was a famous author back in the day, and I think he said in here, what was it? I think he actually included a note. I think it was, and it says he no longer draws what he did, but to thank him for being in the book. But the person I'm thinking of, where is it? No, not Guillermo. Not Guillermo. It is. Oh, I think I overshot the mark just now.
But they're so different.
They're so different. I mean, you go in there from, you know, Joel Pfeiffer, who everyone knows for Phantom Tollbooth, who actually did draw himself. But again, it tells me, you know, oh, I like to think of, yes, you are an internationally cartoonist, but why are you drawing yourself because you have an ego? Probably not. But then again, you really don't know.
There are all sorts of egos. There are
so
the ones
many.
that are obvious and painful.
Yeah.
And then the others which are concealed, but if you look, they're there in everything.
Yeah. I mean, and then you have, like, for example, Ken Jennings, if you're a Jeopardy person, drew that.
That's a nice little creature, though, isn't it?
And it says here, please, you must listen to me. I am an owl wearing a graduation hat. So not only is he the co-host now of Jeopardy, he draws animals. Why now, as he said...
He's obviously emphasizing intellect, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think with Ken Jennings, he actually is the highest... No, the longest reigning champion with, I think, 74 games on Jeopardy.
I can't bear watching things like that. I wouldn't if you paid me.
I don't know. I don't mind it.
I'm always dreading that the person will lose, and I don't want to watch people losing.
That's a good point. And then I have Alex Trebek, actually, that simply just wrote, I don't doodle, with his no doodle. Sorry. So you go from the very simple of I don't doodle to people like Guillermo del Toro, whose movie Nightmare Alley is coming out.
But that's a detailed.
But that's detailed, you know. But with the reason he did that is because also he likes fairy tales. He's very into fairy tales, so you can kind of get that particular feeling from that. But I know that you have some questions that you wanted to ask.
Well, I thought about this. Never thought about it before. When you asked me, I thought about it a lot more. If you did the other book quite a long time ago, I did. I don't know if you've got anybody in both books, but do you think that people mature over time, change over time? The drawings become more detailed or less detailed?
I think that
stronger?
With Easterman, when he drew the cowboy, he said that he used to be more detailed and draw more, but as he was getting older and not doing mainly all of his typing, he didn't usually have a pen like you do. You always write longhand.
Yes.
He was mainly at a computer doing it, so he had the loss of the penmanship by the paper.
If I want to write, I have to pick up the pen and then start. And very often I don't know what I'm going to say at the beginning of the sentence, but when I've done one or two words with it, it comes. Whereas the typewriter, computer, whatever, that doesn't do anything. It's this.
So in answer to your question, I don't know if the artist itself would change over time.
But surely a person who doesn't change from youth to middle age to old age.
Yes.
Is stuck.
Yeah.
That's a tragedy.
Definitely. I'll give you an example of what I mean. The rock singer Dee Snider from Twisted Sister was interesting because he did. I don't know.
That's an interesting thing.
I'll show that in
a good drawing, isn't
I'll
it?
show that in a second. This is what I'm getting at. Where are you? Oh, that's for Snyder. Trebek. So, I mean, I'm no psychologist by any means, so I don't understand. But he did simply that. And if you cannot read it, I'll read it to you. And it says,
back to front, because most of us can't read that.
It says, when I doodle, this is what I have always drawn. You tell me what it means. I have no idea what it means.
It could mean any number of things.
It could mean anything. I mean,
according to the mind of the observer.
True, and also at the same time, he was big in the 1980s, and it was, you know, the drug, sick, rock and roll thing. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe it was, you know, he did that when he was in grade school. You really don't know.
But it's interesting because the arrow is quite strong, and he's given it sides and substance.
He's made it more 3D than anything else.
Yes. It's a solid arrow.
Yeah. And then people, I've had people had said to me before, can I take it home and do something? And when I used to say yes and no, I prefer when people do it right then and there.
Yes, it's not quite the same thing if you think about it and then draw it.
However, the late Catherine Dunn, who was wonderful when she wrote Geek Love, sent me a note with hers, actually, and it said here, so I kept it by the phone. I'll show you this in a second. These represent 2 10-minute conversations and 1 45-minute conversation, in which a friend told me the plot with accompanying character, backstories, and an occasional segue into 11th century philosophy of his new novel. And that is what she did. So she, in essence, literally did what people used to do, which is,
yes,
you have a piece of paper, you doodle. I actually asked a author a while back when he came on to doodle, and he said to me, "What do you mean?"
Oh.
And I said, "Well, you're on the phone with your wife." And he says, "Well, I'm divorced." I said, "Okay, you're on the phone with your divorce attorney. What do you do?" I take notes. I'm thinking, how far back do I have to go with this man?
All the way.
And I'm saying man because I'm just giving you, that's all I'm telling you for it is. It is a male. I said, all right, you're in school, you have a crush on someone. Oh, you mean draw or sketch?
Some people make hard
that's what
work
I
of it,
said.
don't they? Yes.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Was he trying to understand you, or was he deliberately obfuscating?
I don't know.
Good word.
I don't know. I think he might just wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you put it on the spot, it takes you a second, to go.
Takes that one half an hour.
Yeah. But when people have come in and I've said, "Will you do this, please?" And I've had people say I haven't drawn or doodled in 20 or 30 years.
Oh, do you think that's because many people now express themselves on a machine which only writes given letters?
Yeah.
Rather than by hand.
By hand, letters, social media has a lot to do with it.
But it's all machinery.
Yeah.
Machinery and sound. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a much less tactile thing to do.
It is. It really is. I mean, I had somebody in here the other day, and I was talking about, writing. I write Christmas cards, and
who doesn't?
Oh, a lot of people. A lot of people will go, "Oh, it's easier for me to send an e-card." No, granted, I send them too. I mean, I send e-cards as well. But
the reason I send e-cards is because nobody, including me, can read my handwriting.
Okay.
As long as you'll understand that. Having just had some.
But I mean, and I write letters to friends, and because personally speaking, I think it's a lost art. I really do.
Well, it's gradually, it's a bit like the Cheshire Cat. There's only the grin left.
That's true. Yeah.
And anybody who doesn't know Alice in Wonderland unless through the Looking Glass is illiterate, as far as I'm concerned.
Love that book.
I
love the book. The sequel not as much. I remember Alice in Wonderland.
Don't you like Love Jam every other day? Yesterday and tomorrow?
You do have a point.
Yes.
You do have a very good point.
But we mustn't break the Red King.
That's true.
Because we're all a figment of the Red King's dream, and if he wakes up, we'll all disappear.
I should reread Alice in the Looking Glass now that you mention it.
Yes, just delicious. Will you walk a little faster, said the whiting to the snail.
Yeah.
I mean, he's close behind me. He's treading on my tail.
He's just, I mean, Lewis Carroll himself was a mad genius in my opinion.
Yes, but an absolute genius. And I love the walrus and the carpenter as they're, I mean, I won't recite the whole thing, but when they're walking along the beach and they find a pearl.
Yeah.
And they get a lawyer to decide who'll have it.
Mm.
It's completely immaterial because the lawyer takes the pearl for the price of his opinion anyway.
That's right.
Isn't that life?
And it would be interesting to see how, if he ever doodled what it is.
Wouldn't that be a thing now to imagine the doodles that all sorts of famous people might have done? Now there's a full-time occupation for you.
That is. And that's what I like about these, is that, it's so spur of the moment with someone I asked one of my favorites actually, that I met. Actually, I think it was, oh God, how many years ago?
Doesn't matter.
I can't recall.
Please
And,
stop counting.
and actually, it was the designer Ed Hardy, and thinking, oh, he will say no. I mean, he was a designer. He's a tattooist. He'll say no, and he said to me, "Well, what do you want?" And I said, I don't.
The first thing that comes to mind.
Exactly. And he decided to draw. Not if you can make that out. It's a dragon.
Yes, maybe hold it a little closer to the camera so that it gets the lines better.
Yeah,
that's it.
So, and the funny thing is that I like dragons. I think they're, you know, mystical and gracious and all that. And he's like, "Do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know what it is. I mean, it's a dragon. Like, how can you not know that?" But he was just so nice about it. You dropped your, let me get your note back.
Sorry. If I get down there, I might not get up again.
There you go.
Thank you.
No, but you know, it's also, like you said, a little bit into the mind of who the individual at that time really is.
One of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you think doodling is a way of making unacceptable things acceptable, getting hold of what is elusive or perhaps forbidden and getting it down on paper when we're not really thinking about it?
Yeah, more of a subconscious kind of a thing. I think that is actually a very good point. I think that, you know, because a lot of times when you draw or doodled in school, you know, your mind was wandering someplace else and you weren't really paying attention.
Well, my galloping horses are probably trying to escape from the classroom.
Could be. Or anywhere from that. See, that's the things that you don't know where that meant. You know, what made you do it originally? You know, why do people, you know, do whatever they do without thinking? You know, and with this, when you ask someone to do it there, they'll either come up with a piece of art or simply put, like with Alex Trebek, "Sorry, I don't doodle." So,
well, I don't either, but I draw occasionally.
Yeah.
Comes to the same thing.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
Do you think whatever a person doodles, if they really are doodling, it says quite a lot about them?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I think it's your escape. It's your would-be. I would like to do this, but I can't. I would like to say this, but I mustn't.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me, in the first volume, man, it was what you're in, there was a neurologist called John Menkes. And I thought, well, let's get his take on what he would do. And he did, let's see, Menkes, Needham.
It helps that you've got them all alphabetically.
Yeah, I'll drive me nuts otherwise. Menkes, all right. Now, came out his neurologist, and he did, all of his are absolutely symmetrical.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
And that's just how his mind works.
Yes, well, of course, that's...
Which makes perfect sense.
Yes, everybody would be how somebody's mind works. In some way or another.
Yeah. And...
interesting to know whose drawings are static and whose drawings imply movement. Yeah. I don't think I'm trying to escape from anything, but all of my drawings would be horses moving as fast as possible, drawn on a curve.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It does to me.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, also because, you know, when you look at movement in general, in art or anything, you have that. If it's on straight now line, you can tell. If it's curved, it gives it more movement.
Yes. Well, straight lines are ugly. Nature doesn't do. Even the horizon isn't actually. If you look at enough of it, isn't straight.
Now I have to go on Google Images.
Well, it can't be. The Earth is round.
That's true.
I mean, I'm deducing that it isn't straight from the fact that the Earth is round.
Okay, good point. Good point. I'm not one of those flat Earth people, so yeah.
No, there are plenty of them. Again, does it say something about you? I can read it only with my glasses on. Or is it chance or cultural, whatever you draw?
I think it could be a bit of both. I think it's also kind of like the nature versus nurture thing. How, you know, one is brought up. If they're brought up one way, then they might only draw that, but what they know.
Yes.
It's also, I've always heard, and you can say yes or no to this one. I've always been told, because I can't write to save my life, but they always, you know, write what you know. And I've always don't know if that's true or not.
Well, I've heard plenty of people say that, but I say write what you want to. If you're going to write only what you know, you're going to be very restricted. Write what you want to. Write what you dream.
Yeah.
I don't mean at night. I mean your daydreams, your wishes.
Right.
I mean, for heaven's sake, we'd be without all our fantasy if we only wrote what we know.
That's true. You know, and you would just copy from other people. One
of my father's favorite, you would have liked him, I think, favorite jokes was when the philosopher was asked, when you get to heaven and they ask you at the entrance, what do you know? He's going to say, I know there must be some mistake.
That's actually really good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's great.
I thought you would.
Yeah, I do. I really do. No, it's interesting because Jonathan Kellerman did the introduction for the first volume. And if you don't know about Jonathan Kellerman, I believe he was a psychiatrist at first go.
I've read most of his books. Enjoyed him very much.
He's a great author. I haven't read him in a while.
He's gone off the boil.
Okay. So basically, I should just read his early stuff and remember him when he was, in other words.
I found it interesting and a very understandable and likable main character, vulnerable and clever.
Okay, so kind of again.
I don't know him. I've never met him.
No, I've known him a few times, and you can see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's also when it's interesting when you have these people come in, rather it's an actor, director, or whomever. Because there was sometimes you hear people talk badly about them on set, but when they come on it's completely different. Because I think it's also one of those where since with the shop, it's one thing, and they're on your territory. You're not on theirs. So it's that thing of, if I'm working with so and so, whomever it might be, and they're known for treating people dreadfully, that's on them.
Yes.
But when they come into the shop, they're completely different.
That's interesting.
And very rarely have I met someone that has a bad reputation to work with, and when they've come on in here, you can kind of see that. So it's kind of like, your reputation is one thing. Now I know why you have it, kind of a thing.
Well, when every sentence begins with I.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're likely to be in trouble. I was going to say also, is a doodle a subconscious message to yourself? How much is it code and how much is it obvious?
That's actually, if you know, well, actually he passed away now, unfortunately, the author, or heard of the author Colin Wilson.
No,
Colin Wilson was
I know almost nobody.
Okay. He was a philosopher that wrote well over 100 books.
I'm trying to catch up with him.
You can definitely do that, Anne. But with he did every single kind of subject one can think of. So, for example, one of them was, why do we dream? Subconscious. Do they really mean anything when we dream? Why do we remember our dreams? Why don't we remember our dreams?
I think we dream because we're processing what we've learned through the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but it makes sense to me.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
It does.
We'll stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that thing too. It is what you draw, or is what one doodle subconscious. I think it can start off that way. And then you look at people that do it as a career, and I am just blown away by some of them in the book, where I literally, if they said to me, we'll have to shoot you on spot unless you copy whomever.
Yes.
Shoot me, because there is no way will I be able to do some of these. Does it reveal
something about the person? Do you think?
It can.
Or conceal.
It could be both. It could be both. It could be both.
Now you'll have to explain that.
For example, Dr. Henry Lee, he drew that, and Dr. Henry Lee, if you don't know the name,
I don't.
Was a forensic specialist.
What?
He did forensics. And he actually was one of the people that worked on the O.J. Simpson trial. So when he drew what he drew, being that, does it tell us anything about his psychology? Maybe he feels trapped in what he does. Why isn't full blockwise? Don't know.
It looks very solid, though, doesn't it? It's very three-dimensional.
It does. And then again, it comes back to the whole psyche versus, if you're drawing what you know, per se, it's his mind when he drew this.
Another thing is, of course, I know, I see books up there.
Right.
I call that a book. You call it a book. But
Right.
do we see the same thing?
I hope so. Otherwise, I might have to go get glasses.
No, but I mean, we have names for things. We have names for colors. There's a cap there. The second one, I would call that red. And you would call it red because we've been taught that that is
red.
What you call red. But do we actually see the same color?
Well, I'm not colorblind, so that's a
plus. No, neither am I. But we don't know.
No, but I know what you're getting at.
We don't know whether we see the same thing. We know we've been taught to call it by the same name. But I know many people that I think they only see the basic colors. I said, yes, but is it cherry red or scarlet or crimson or wine or blood red or, carmine or...
Right. It's funny. I had my dad and I had a book we bound. No, it came bound. And we were looking at it, and it was a copy of Frankenstein, and we were trying to discern what color it was. And I thought it was blue. He thought it was green. I had someone come in here the other day. I'm like, please do me a favor. What color is this? And she looks and she goes, oh, it's teal.
Yeah, it's aqua, somewhere between blue and green.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, and maybe in a way, a doodle will distill what is the essence of something to somebody.
Yeah.
Draw a something or another, and they'll get the lines that are the essence of it.
Yeah.
To them.
Definitely to them. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we can look at people's artwork, and that's the thing I like about with the doodles is that they're subjective. I might look at one, I might look at someone and go, oh, this is absolutely fabulous. And then you might go and, oh, really, what do you like about it? Kind of a thing. So it's also interesting in that way. Now, when you do buy a copy of the book, I do have a in memoriam section, only because so many people, why not? Simple as that. But
because
some
a lot
of them
interesting people are not with us anymore.
Exactly. And so, for example,
gone into the next room.
Yeah, that is true. So, I mean, for example, Robert Culp passed away in 2010. But some of these, and I'll show you what he did. And he drew that. So,
that's interesting.
What is it? I don't know. I'm guessing maybe it could be seen as something mythical, heavenly.
He was drawing what he felt.
Yeah. And
which makes it a true work of art in a sense.
Yeah. But then you have people, Danfante, like Eva Gabor.
That's interesting.
That. And I think that's great. And some of them, when you get this, you'll see them, well, how did you get so-and-so?
The eyes, then.
The eyes are great. Both my parents are, in the entertainment industry. So whenever they were on set and they knew I liked getting doodles when I was younger, they would get them for me. So when you look at people and you go, well, wait a second, you would have been, let's say, 5 at the time. How did you get so-and-so? They got it for me.
Well, they don't fade.
No. And it's just, I mean, I look through this book all the time and I learn something new.
That's an interesting drawing.
Yeah, Russell Banks.
I don't think I know.
Another English mystery writer did that. And I look at that and I go, okay, family oriented, mother, daughter, father and son. And when he did that, though, he actually, I believe he had one of his children with him. at the time, so that made sense. You know, being a family man, you know, I think he had his daughter with him at the time, I believe.
Yes, because that's a non-specific person, isn't
exactly.
it?
It can be whomever.
That is child, but
yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, is that a mother, father? Don't know. Could be brother. Don't know. It's, you know, you just don't know, and you learn things. One of my favorite people, because I always watched The Price is Right, was Bob Barker, and he always had the same catchphrase: "Have your pets spayed or neutered, and with an animal." Yeah. I'm assuming it is a cat. I'm hoping it's a cat. Could be a dog. It's some animal. I have no idea.
It's not a horse.
No, it's not. If you drew a horse, that would be interesting. Bono decided to simply draw himself.
But it's interesting the features that people select, if they do. And if I drew somebody, I think it would be the nose and the angle of the cheek and jaw.
And maybe, for me, maybe an eye if I'm that talented enough to doodle. Just so you guys know, each book that you get will be signed. If you want them inscribed, please either let me know or BookSoup know, and I will be drawing and doodling in each and every book. So, will my drawings get any better? Find out. Buy a book, buy two. Who knows? Maybe they will. But just, you know, the good thing about it, though, is that you don't know. Like, I've picked this up, and it's one of those things where, like I said early on, I learned something different by looking at the people, you know. And can you get into their heads? No, but you can see what they do with a piece of paper.
Yes, something of their personality comes through by the very fact of what it is they draw.
Yeah.
Whether it's self-reflective or reflecting a dream or a fear.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or whatever. And do you look at them and think he or she was doing this or that or?
Yeah. And that's also a thing where you can look back. There was, because I am working on, because I know I'm going to get asked this question. So let me answer it right now. I am working on a third volume.
Good.
And some of the people I have gotten are illustrators and animators. And of course, when you get one of those, you know you're looking at artwork, but at the same time, it's professional. But then again, at the same time, I had one person come in here the other day, and I mentioned the second volume, I mentioned the third volume. He's, "Oh, can I be in the third one?" I said, "By all means." He said, "What do you want me to draw?" And I said what I said to him early on, which is, I don't care. I'm not here to tell you what I want. I want you to draw what you want to draw.
Surely that's part of.
Is that my phone?
No.
Do you need to take that call?
Nobody has my number.
Oh, okay, so it's a solicitation.
Yeah. But surely what you choose to draw is part of it.
Yeah.
And are you drawing something that's a wish, or are you trying to deal with something by drawing it again and again, somehow get control of it?
I think that he worked at a number of film studios, and the one that he decided to draw was he worked on a number of Disney films, and then he left Disney, which I think was a smart move on his part.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to make any comment.
Oh, I can make comments about Disney if I want. And he moved from Disney to Pixar, and he's now working with Lucas. The fact that he did something Disney related kind of threw me for a second, because I'm thinking to myself, well, why would you be drawing something that's in your past? Like, you've left that part.
That's a very
you've left that part of
how often do
you
try to change the past, though, by getting control of it, or telling it slightly differently, remembering it slightly differently each time, or drawing it?
Yeah.
Maybe that's getting hold of it and getting it into a shape that you can deal with.
Yeah. That's a very good point, because someone I had a while back, who also will be in volume 3, was also a former. He was the first African American Disney animator, and oh my God, did he not like Walt Disney?
I believe quite a few people did not like
because what he drew was a fat mouse with a huge cigar. And I'm like, okay, if that's not telling of what he thought of Disney,
oh yes,
if that's not telling what he thought of Disney,
if we could all draw the things we imagined, wouldn't it be some wonderful doodles?
Yes, and some very disturbing ones.
Yes, but and I imagine if you draw the same thing over and over again, it does say something about you.
Yeah, but then it's also that kind of thing of it'll be so repetitive, you can literally do it with your eyes shut. You know.
But I've never wanted to draw anything but horses, but they've always got to be leaping or moving, or there's got to be the speed and the grace. Do
you think that that's needed for the fact that when you're so many books ahead in a series of yours, that it's telling you want to get over it faster?
Well, I want to deliver on time, and with 3 books in a year, that means work 6 days a week at least.
And also, like, you're doing all longhand, which is amazing.
Well, that's the only way I can think, and my brain doesn't switch on if I don't put a pen in my hand.
Got it.
Like expecting the car to go without the key.
Yeah, okay, I can, that actually, but since I don't have a car and I walk all the time, I know what you mean.
I don't have a car anymore either. You guys all drive on the wrong side of the road, and there are too many of you.
That we do.
I would not be safe.
No.
Neither would anybody else. But yes, I've got so many ideas. I need to live a good few more years yet, because I've got terrific ideas. When we finish this, I'll tell you of an idea I've got for Elena that I think is the absolute killer.
The thing I like about, like I've said, going back to the book, is that you don't, like, for example, Michael Lembeck, who is an actor, wrote "Roses are red, puddles are gray. If this makes this book, I'm Claude Monet." How can I not put that in?
Well,
I had to.
Yes, you have to put the essence of what. I mean, it's a good drawing.
And it's a good drawing.
It's better still when you have the writing.
Yeah.
Which you have to read, because it comes like mirror writing in that.
So I mean, when he says if it doesn't make the book, I felt bad. I had to put him in.
Yes.
I mean, how can I not? He says, if this makes this book, how can I say no to the man?
You couldn't.
Exactly.
Which is why Doodles, because so much is cut out, only the essence is there.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot about somebody.
It does. And
my drawing always starts with one sweeping line.
Yeah. And that's the
whole thing on that line.
And I think I was watching some show the other day. And oh God, what was it? I'm gonna blink on it. And they always, just start with the simplest idea.
Yes.
And go from there. And I'm like, that's actually brilliant.
Well, it gives it the impetus and the grace, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really truly does. We'll start with a circle. What was I watching? Oh, I was watching it wasn't the Great British Bake Off, which I love. I'm gonna blank on it. Something, and it was basically saying, you always start with something simple and then you grow from that. And it's the same way, I think, with the drawing in general. You start with a basic circle, like with a basic line,
yes,
or a curved line. And it's just so interesting looking at these.
Well, in a drawing, you can go with a straight line. In a story, well, not straight,
no,
curved, but in a story, you have to have change, and it always has to have something that makes it happen.
That's true. That's very true.
And if you don't have an understandable, identifiable move that makes something happen, you're left wondering, well, why is he going to do that?
Okay, I think someone's asked a question here.
Oh, so good.
Let me see here. Okay, I don't know. All right, Laura. Hey, Laura. What are your top 3 doodles ever drawn? Ooh, my top 3, huh?
Come back to it.
Yeah, I'll have to come back.
That's a very elastic answer.
Yeah, it really is. And where do you get your inspiration from when you write your books?
Are they talking to you or me?
You.
Oh, watch the news sometimes. It's repeating itself over and over again. And if you think, yes, but if they didn't do this, if they did that, then what would happen?
Good point. And then I think I saw 2 other ones here. Okay. What's the first doodle you remember collecting and who was it from? Ooh, Missy, that is a good question. That's a hard question. I would have to go. It'd probably be in volume 1.
I can't see anybody with glasses on.
But that's going to bother me now. I'm going to have to think about that and get back to you at like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And okay, now I can answer that question. And you'd be upset because I woke you up even though you live in Florida. Louis, do you and ever read books online, or you only read ones you can hold?
I only read ones I can hold.
Same here.
Oh.
I don't,
Look around this room and then ask, do you read them online?
Yeah.
You can't see the rest of the room here, but it's full of books. There is no wall space that doesn't have books on it.
Let's see here.
And I've just got 4 new 7-foot-high bookcases.
Are they filled yet? All right.
And I've got 2 other ones in the bedroom and spare bedroom. They're full as well.
Okay. What is the darkest doodle I've ever gotten? Ooh, okay. Now.
The darkest?
The darkest. If we're talking about...
It's an interesting question.
She's also a criminologist, who's fabulous, by the way. If we're talking about theme-wise, for volume 2, ooh, that is a really good question.
You'll have to give some sort of an answer now and a more detailed answer later on.
I know.
Your address.
I do. I'll actually message you.
I think much of it must be an interpretation too.
Of what one would consider a dark doodle. Yeah, if we're talking theme-wise, dark as in mystery as in dark kind of a thing, that's one way to look at it. If we're talking about the kind of drawing, that would be another. I will actually get back to you on that, Laura.
Very good question.
It's a really good question. I think I have an idea of what you are talking about in that regard. Okay, can you tell us about your Johnny Depp doodle experience and show his doodle? Yes, I can, Sam.
Can you?
Sorry. It was regarding Johnny Depp and his doodle.
Oh.
Johnny's been a client of ours for ages. And this is what I was talking about. No, that's Guillermo again. Let's not repeat. Where are you? Okay.
It's gotta be in there, isn't it?
That's what Johnny drew. He drew himself.
It's pretty good drawing, though.
It's a really good drawing. It's a really good drawing. But again, why was he drawing himself? Does it come down to ego? Like, oh, I want to sit on a desk and draw myself because that's what I do best.
There's so many things. I don't know Johnny Depp, and I have no idea. But couldn't you? I mean, I could imagine drawing yourself again and again, trying to get it closer each time to what you would like it to be.
I can see. Actually, you know what? Looking at that and knowing his history, that actually makes sense.
Well, I don't know, but how often do you perhaps try to do something that in some way reflects you, whether it's writing or drawing or what it is, or music or a self-portrait of some sort or another.
Yeah.
And you do it again and again until you get it closer and closer to what you want to be.
That's true, actually. That's actually
it's
a very good thought too. Let's see. I think I did the Johnny Depp one. What are my top 3 doodles ever drawn? I will answer that in a second. That swimmingly common is all me. My question: what doodles would you want to have that are no longer with us? Ooh, that's a good question. The first person that comes to mind would be Edgar Allan Poe. That's the first person that would come to mind.
Now that would be dark.
Yeah, that actually goes back to your question, Laura, about darkness.
There'd be a woman dying in it somewhere.
Probably, yeah. Or something to do with birds, and I mean, who knows?
No, it's. They didn't ask me, but I wonder. Actually, Chesterton, who was one of my very favorite poets and writers, was also an artist and studied at one of the London art schools. But he used to do cartoons of himself. They weren't exactly doodles, but they were cartoons of himself.
All right. Well, again, God, you're asking great questions. Louis, what was the most shocking doodle I received? Okay, shocking wise. Are we talking about shocking as in drawing, or are we talking about shocking as in, oh my God, that person drew for me? If we're talking about that person that drew for me, the first one that comes to mind always, and she passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. No, not Betty White. She's still alive at 90, whatever old she is now, 97, I think. And that is
somebody older than I am. That's a lovely thought.
That is, come on, where are you, Harper? Come on, Harper Lee. That one took me by surprise, and she drew a cat.
Oh dear, but what an interesting face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just a cat.
No, it's more of a smirking, sneering.
Yes, it's a very clever, not very nice cat.
No, it's not. Maybe she was going through a bad time at the day at the time when she drew it at the time. Maybe I hope she liked cats. That's what I'm hoping.
But that cat doesn't like her.
That she wasn't. That's not like a dog person. And nothing wrong with dogs. Don't get me wrong.
That's a very clever drawing.
Yeah, that is. It's that was one of them that when I received it, it totally blew me away.
Yes, I can. I wouldn't have that on the wall. I would think if that thing's watching me,
it would scare me.
Stay away.
So,
yes.
Doc
doesn't like me.
Doc, yes, Laura, that is Doc. Okay. All right. So that was one of the most shocking. Okay. Top 3 doodles. I'll get back to in a second. Top 3 doodles. Okay. Top 3 doodles would probably be a mixture of both volumes. The one for volume 2, if I'm only allowed 3, gee, thanks for that one.
That's one of the cleverest. It's very frightening.
Would be Margaret Atwood, and she. I mean, I think that's absolutely beautiful.
It's a wonderful.
It's
drawing,
beautiful.
Isn't it?
And then Margaret Atwood being the author that she is. Again, it's one of those that you go, it's so striking. But doodles also tell you things that people wanted to do back in the day, and it was Carol Burnett who actually, where are you, Carol? Is there. She actually wanted to be a fashion designer. Oh. So you can kind of see it in, the way that she drew her things, and also if you look also at the time period, back in the 30s and the 40s, I think would be my guess. I'm bad with that kind of a thing, year-wise. But going back to the 3 shocking ones, I would also go back to volume 1, and that would actually be. Come on, where are you? And there is no in memoriam in this one, by the way. Just the second one. Come on, where are you, Vonnegut? With V's, obviously.
It's a nice little animal there.
So that was Vonnegut. So that was one of those that kind of threw me. But he was such a nice man. That's the thing. And then you mentioned an animal. Oh yeah, Amy Tan drew her little doggy.
Isn't that lovely?
Which I think is great. Anytime you can draw your own animal that you love so much, it shows me that first of all you're an animal lover, which is always a plus.
Yes.
And you're pretty damn good at drawing your own animals. Was that, did I answer all the questions or not? I think ask a question. I think I pretty much covered all of. Does anyone else have any other questions? And do you have any before we wrap up?
See if I've got something. Yeah, how much do you think, if you were honest, your doodles reveal to yourself about yourself?
Wow, I don't really know. A lot of the things I draw shocking as this is, are books. Isn't that a shocker?
What a surprise.
I know. Isn't that a shocker? It's something you knew about that you did not know about me. I draw books. I wonder why.
I write them, but I don't draw them.
I can draw them, not great. So when you do buy a copy of the book or copies of the book, you can pretty much guarantee yourself you will be getting a doodle of a book in the actual doodle book. It's appropriate. Otherwise, I try and draw animals. I'm not great at it.
Fur animals are very difficult to draw.
I mean, I might do a cat, not as green as HARPER LEE's sneering cat that I wouldn't want framed.
No.
That would just give me nightmares.
That cat was more than human.
Yeah, it was, and that's why I'm thinking maybe she had a bad day at the office.
I wrote a story once in which a young man was paralyzed, and he was a great artist, and he drew birds in flight.
Wow.
A lot.
Wow. Any reason why?
Yes,
you
because
chose
he couldn't move himself, so he drew something totally free that was capable to move in all 3 dimensions.
So you draw horses and he drew birds.
Yes, but I'm not paralyzed.
Thank God for that. Yes, that is true.
But no, I could never move as a horse moves.
No, that's why you have to get onto the horse in order for it to move.
Yes.
That's the thing you need to do. Any other questions? Wonder since he doesn't.
I don't know. I can't read that.
See here. I love you. What is he trying? Yeah, all right, yeah, I thought you two would. Let's see. I think that's it, actually.
Well, I think we're just about
I think we're
come
pretty
to
much
time.
going to wrap up.
Yes,
You've got.
If my watch is correct, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello. Any last words on Doodles?
Buy the book. That's about it.
Yes, please.
support your local bookshop and buy the book. It does make a great Christmas gift.
Yes.
And especially for the so-and-so has everything. They don't want anything else. No, they don't have. They do not have. I can guarantee you that book. So.
Tell you secrets. You can psychoanalyze everybody.
Exactly.
You may or may not be right.
And you might have an author that you like and go, oh my God, they did that. I don't like them anymore because of what they drew. I won't support them. But do support your local bookshop, please.
How much do you think depends on just motor skills? Like we might have an image in our mind, but we're just not going to try.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really
Some of those
matter.
are beautiful artwork, and others are quite primitive. It doesn't matter.
I mean,
as long as you get the emotion in it.
Yeah, it was actually William Shatner that in Volume 1 just drew a line, and simply just a clean, perfect, just a straightforward doodle, and it was just a line.
Why does that not surprise me?
I have no idea.
Well, that's a wrap on our presentation. Thank you again.
Thank you so much again, Maggie, for having me. Thank you, thank you, Maggie, and of course, thank you, Anne, so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate everyone's time and your support of independent bookstores. Support our bookstore and our author, and purchase a copy of tonight's featured book. Just click on the green purchase button that reads Doodles directly below your viewer screen. If you'd like regular updates on our upcoming events, make sure to follow us on Crowdcast and subscribe to our newsletter. Have a great evening, and as always, stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.